Oh, don't tell me I did it again. All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Ginny Harger. I'm the chairperson of the Shelton Planning and Zoning Commission. Today is Wednesday, October 25th, 2023, and the special meeting of the commission is hereby called to order at 6:10 p.m. This meeting is accessible here in the City Hall and through Zoom and a phone link. Will you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah, leave it there now.
Okay, just in case.
Yeah. All right, I will start off with the roll call. Will commissioners please indicate that you're present when your name is called? Commissioner Kelly,
Present.
Commissioner Parkins, present. Commissioner Onofrio,
Present.
Commissioner Donato,
Present.
Commissioner Amato,
Here.
Commissioner Tiki,
Here.
and Commissioner Lascos is not available for this evening's meeting. So Commissioner Donato, you'll be, Commissioner Onofrio, you'll be seated for Commissioner Lascos.
I got it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. First item on the agenda is an application for certificate of zoning compliance from Subway. And this application was processed at our October 11th meeting. And at the time, the commission had voted to for the sign at the entrance to Corporate One and had asked that it be revised for a second line to be added for either the words world headquarters or corporate headquarters added to it. And not too long after that, we were contacted by the business services director, and he explained that both Shelton and their facility in Miami are on the same level. Neither one is considered a corporate headquarters. And he asked that the commission reconsider its action at that time. So this is Bill Ekstrom. He is present here in the audience. Why don't you come up to the, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Come on up to the table.
Okay.
Yeah. This is the little gizmo that
Oh,
videos and
All
everything.
right, stand here. Or?
No, have a seat.
A seat. Okay.
So why don't you introduce yourself for the record and give us a little bit of background if you like.
Great. Thank you so much. Bill Ekstrom, Director of Business Services. I'm responsible for our workplaces globally, and I happen to be based here in Connecticut. So the Connecticut office is my home office now. I'm from Trumbull, Connecticut, so it's very exciting to be in this area, and to bring our new part of our dual headquarters to Shelton. So Ginny and I had a great conversation and learned a little bit more about your process, as well as sharing a little bit about ours. We, about 2 years ago, decided to divide our headquarters into two parts and really meet more of our consumer facing and marketing end. Operations side would be based in Miami, which is across from the Miami International Airport, and kind of in a very large business district there. And so that's great for our guests, for our franchisees, and for others to come and our employees to visit and to be part of kind of that end of the business. And then our back office, not to be any less, but our more of our traditional disciplines such as human resources, legal, finance, some of our technology functions, and some of our other functions that are also in Miami, but have a smaller team, are based here in Shelton, Connecticut. And so we just opened on Monday. Very excited to be in. Thank you. Into One Corporate. The team there, the Cinto team, has been great. And we've got about 450 employees and contingent workers in the location. It was built for 600. And so we appreciate your consideration on the sign and understanding that both Miami and Shelton are equal in stature to our employees and to our franchisees. We just happen to be in two different locations, but share the same goal. And so by putting world headquarters, which we previously had in Milford, or putting something like corporate headquarters, it really doesn't allow us to show equality between both locations. And so we believe that the request to change it to black versus our traditional subway colors is a concession, which is fine. It matches a corporate park better, but it still allows us to for you to have a little bit more of a conservative sign, but also allows us to not have to designate between both locations.
So just the word corporate wouldn't work. See, one of the things you may not realize is that, and this, I'm sure Mr. Cinto doesn't share this fact with his tenants, but when we allow a PDD, which is a planned development district, it gives the applicant the ability to do something that normally wouldn't be allowed in that zone, but it gives the commission much more control over what happens on that PDD, such as, signage and landscaping and that sort of thing. So what our concern with Subway, and the other sign we don't believe was ever permitted for Prudential. What we're concerned about is that people are going to think there's a sandwich shop. And one of the other things with PDDs is when restaurants are put in, even delis and whatnot, it's put in for the use of the tenants, not for the outside public, if you will. So that's why we were concerned about not having the disclaimer that it's corporate, having people believe that there's a Subway shop inside.
Sure.
So that's where the concern was.
Sure.
'Cause
And
I believe your test kitchen is also located in Shelton, correct?
so understandable concern. I understand your point. Our test kitchen, our innovation center globally is based in Miami. That is where our main location is. We have quite a beautiful space, which hopefully at some point, if you're ever in Miami, we'd love to show you because it's a beautiful new space. And that is where our global innovation occurs. And it's moved from Milford to Miami. So the test kitchen or supplemental supporting lab that you may have heard about, we are building a restaurant with inside to corporate. It is to serve the corporate park. Obviously, if someone from the public would happen to walk in there for a doctor's appointment, they could partake. It's open to the public,
Right, sure.
but it is not meant to be publicized outside of the park. Inside of there, in the back of the restaurant, a restaurant typically has your back of house, right, for servicing that particular
The deli on the
franchise.
first floor, so-
It's actually that's the still learning the floors as well, but the second floor, so it's across the Sky Bridge. So as soon as you enter 2 on the Sky Bridge, there's a hallway. If you pass down there was an older restaurant or a deli that was in there.
On the left-hand side.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's where the location will be. In the back of that restaurant, we will have a slightly larger back of house than a traditional Subway, which will allow some of our quality assurance teams that happen to be based in Shelton to be able to do a little bit of testing, but it's more quality assurance versus actual innovation. So that's our plan there. We feel like, and again, I understand your concern, but viewing the sign as it is with all black tradition, that is an exception for us. We would never really produce a sign in black. That's against our brand standard, the way that it is. But we understand in partnership with you that it does look more corporate. It looks very subdued, and it would kind of fit well with the park. I can't see myself going up to that sign and thinking that it was a public restaurant that I would see it was in front of a big, tall corporate building. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to.
No, but I think it's a great
understand
point. Yes.
Our background and.
Yeah, where we were coming from
concern.
originally.
Completely appreciate that. I appreciate the
Yeah.
opportunity to discuss it.
Okay, good. So do any commissioners have any questions for Mr. Ekstrom?
No, it'd just be the sign Subway in black. That's it.
Just as what was initially.
That's that revision. Yep, but that was with the black, correct?
Yep.
I understand that just to say, that there were other signs, whether it was the front, the ones that were green up in the front of that drive. There's also one discussed facing the parking garage. We'll hold on that discussion. We'll reapproach you about that if we decide to do something else and have that conversation. For now, it's just the sign we're asking.
Sign at the front of corporate one.
Correct.
Okay, so
I do have one
go ahead.
question.
Go ahead, Commissioner Kelly.
Since Subway came into the light, there's a few I went around to, and they're not green and yellow, they're white and yellow.
Right. So our brand
Are
standard.
you changing your?
So that's a great
brand color?
question. So we have interchangeable green, white, and yellow depending on the logo. So if a choice mark, for example, which is the S symbol, not the actual full logo, is on top of green, then it would be white and yellow. If it was behind another backdrop, it would be yellow and green, right? So we're basically saying if green is the primary background color, you have the opportunity to use white and yellow because all three are brand colors.
Uh-huh.
So
All right.
Thank
Yeah.
I can understand about corporate ID and everything, because I used to have to oversee that when I worked for an international company.
mhm.
Oh, it's sometimes a losing battle that you would tell all your regional managers and everything, before you go out and issue something or print something, please run it by us, the corporate, we just want to make sure that standards are being kept to. So it's not an easy job for sure.
Appreciate your understanding.
So anybody else have a question for Mr. Ekstrom? If not, Commissioner Kelly, you were the one that made the original motion to approve with the second line, and Commissioner Parkins, you had seconded it. So would you want to make a motion to rescind that original
Yeah, sure.
and
I'll
approve
make
the
motion.
corporate one sign with just one line in black?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
fine. I will make that motion.
Okay, and Commissioner Parkins, you're going
I
to
will
second? Okay, so on the motion to rescind the original motion to approve the entrance sign to corporate one with a second line, and instead it would just be one line in black, made by Commissioner Kelly and seconded by Commissioner Parkins. We'll do a roll call. Commissioner Amato,
Aye.
Commissioner Tiki,
Aye.
Commissioner Onofrio,
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly,
Aye.
Commissioner Parkins.
Aye.
And chair votes aye. Motion has passed by a vote of 6-0. So, good luck.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very
And-
much.
We are very excited to have Subway in town. That was a wonderful article that was in the paper.
It was.
Glad that
and,
you all saw that. Thank you. Thank you for your
Yes.
support. And, I'm just to end, I appreciate letting us do that. I appreciate your support. I am available, as you know, I live in Trumbull. So
Yeah.
if there's other other things that come up or issues that occur, I'm more than happy to come back again and discuss them and
Yeah,
work
yeah,
through it
feel
with you.
free to come in person. We still meet
Yeah,
during the winter. We'll going back to Zoom, but just for a couple months.
Great. Well, I will definitely be available and love to do that. We'll be departing because of a family obligation this evening,
yeah,
but
right
I
on.
thank you for putting in the beginning. So
Not a
thank
problem.
you. Thank you
Thank
all.
you very
Have a great
much.
evening. Appreciate it. Nice to meet you all.
take care.
Thank you.
Okay, we're, next thing on the agenda is a public hearing. However, and that was for to include native plant descriptions and requirements and some text edits to our zoning regulations for the restoration, preservation of native species. However, the full report is not ready yet for the commission and the public. So there's really no need to start the public hearing tonight. Is there a motion? And I would recommend that it would be tabled until November 15th. So is there a motion to table the public hearing that was to take place tonight until November
I'll make
15th?
that motion.
I'll
Okay.
second it.
So there's a motion to table the public hearing tonight on native plants from Commissioner Parkins, seconded by Commissioner Kelly. On a roll call, Commissioner Onofrio,
Aye.
Commissioner Amato,
Aye.
Commissioner Tiki,
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly,
Aye.
Commissioner Parkins,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. Motion to table has passed by vote to 6-0, and we will have that on the November 15th meeting. Next thing is new business, re-subdivision of 58 more or less acres, assessors map 105, lots 11, 14, map 104, lots 25, 28 to 31, and map 91, lot 29 in the area known as the Mass property. Area zone as IA1. Subdivision is re-subdivision is planned for future industrial development. We need a motion to accept for review and set a public hearing.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, so there's a motion to accept agenda item A, new business for set for review and set a public hearing. Is there a second?
I'll second Commissioner Matto.
Okay. All right, thank you, Commissioner Amato. So on that motion, I will do a roll call. Commissioner Onofrio,
Aye.
Commissioner Tiki,
Aye.
Commissioner Amato,
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly,
Aye.
Commissioner Parkins,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. Motion to pass, accept and said public hearing is passed by vote of 6-0. And staff will set that public hearing on a upcoming agenda. All right, we're now on to old business. Item A, application 2317, PDD number 107, Dominic Thomas for B-Wiz LLC at 0 and 453 River Road and portions of 253 and 257 Quorum Road, Assessors Map 66, lots 3, 4, and portions of 19 and 20 for final site development plans containing 4 residential buildings with 38 units each for a total 152 units, 274 on-site parking spaces, a clubhouse and recreational path for residents. This particular application had been on I believe it's a September. I don't have my notes in front of me this meeting, but there were on, I believe, also October 11th. And it was at that time that we authorized staff to prepare a resolution. So all commissioners have that was sent earlier this afternoon.
I left my package on the table.
Oh, no. Okay. So there it is up on the screen though. And
Can you zoom it up a little bit?
so Mr. Panico, do you want to go over the resolution on?
Sure, anytime you're ready.
I think we are.
Just as a matter of background, we don't normally get this elaborate in final development plans because usually everything is done, polished up, packaged together, and it becomes almost routine to run it through a decision. In this particular case, the applicant kept responding to concerns that were raised during the review process, and we ended up with a document and then a whole bunch of supplementary pieces, and it's time to tie it all up together in a bundle. And the applicant's position is he knows he has to do this and he's willing to do it. He's just looking for a proper go-ahead. So what we've done is prepare a resolution that has a whole bunch of conditions on it, most of which have been resolved, but they've got to be pulled together because once you get the final plans and endorsed, then that's pretty much it. You know, it's very difficult to go back and start undoing things. And there were a lot of areas that were kind of up in the air. So I've attempted to give you a little bit of background in the first couple of paragraphs and then kind of identify what those conditions of approval, so to speak, are. And with that, what I'm saying is that this is about application 2317 of Attorney Dominic Thomas on behalf of William Griffin and B-Wiz LLC for approval of final site development plans for PDD number 107 for a residential rental apartment development at 0 and 453 River Road in accordance with section 34, paragraph 3410 of the Shelton zoning regulations. At the Shelton Planning and Zoning Commission meeting of July 26, 2023, the commission rendered a conditional approval of initial development plans for 152 unit upscale residential rental apartment development on a 9.4 acre site at 0 and 453 River Road, which with limited frontage on the easterly side of Quorum Road and significant frontage of 740 feet or so on the westerly side of River Road, Connecticut Route 110. The proposal will have access from both streets with 4 buildings, each consisting of 4 stories and 38 units each, with an amenity area including a clubhouse, swimming pool, other amenities, as well as a walking path and some on-site parking for 305 vehicles. On the basis of that approval, and to accommodate the subject development, Plan Development District number 107, including its statement of uses and standards, was adopted effective August the 4th of 2023. That statement of use requires that 20 units be set aside and rented as affordable housing. Based on those actions then, and in accordance with section 34, paragraph 3410, which is the procedures for final development plans, the applicant has pursued the necessary modifications and revised its initial plan, and hereby makes application for approval of final site development plans as required by PD 107. and to satisfy all applicable conditions, modifications, and revisions. Said final plans are entitled Proposed Residential Development, 453 River Road, Route 110, Shelton, Connecticut. Said plans were prepared for BWiz LLC by BHB Engineers, dated revised 9/1/23, and include site plans, site construction details, and architectural drawings of the building. Also submitted following that submission were 6.
Good. I'm in a meeting right now. I'm in the Zoom meeting, planning and zoning. You're just calling to see if I survive surgery? Yeah, good. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Okay, good, thanks.
Okay,
Yep, go ahead.
okay. So they submitted their basic drawings with their application for final approval. Then there was some discussion and the commission requested information about site changes in topography, et cetera. And they provided 6 site cross sections, and they are now identified as XS-1.0 through XS-1.5. And those are dated September 26, 2003. And they also provided additional details on sheet identified as 6-CO3 site details or dated 9/29/23, and a revised layout identified as sheet C 2.0 dated 9/29/73. Said application was accepted for review on September the 13th of 2023. The major site plan modification of the proposed initial development plan involved the reconfiguration of buildings 1 and 2 and their service driveway in an effort to better adapt to topographical constraints. The applicant has attempted to address the additional concerns raised with the architectural building designs and the on-site circulation between the upper and lower portions of the site. Although the final site development plans also reflect other modifications by the applicant to satisfy the conditional approval of initial plans, there are still several areas that require further clarification, correction, and/or modification prior to the approval and endorsement of said plans. The applicant has also attempted to address the concerns of staff and the commission by submitting additional revisions and supplementary design information to assure a final design reflecting the proposal for an attractive upscale development, but is aware of the need for additional adjustments, refinements, and details to be incorporated, including final architectural design drawings prior to any endorsement of said final plans. The architectural plans must reflect consistency with the engineered plans, as well as final design modifications, exterior building material selections, and specifications. In addition to the above, the applicant has also consented to submit supplementary conceptual drawings and information explaining the intended features to be provided in the amenities area. Said amenities concept will not become part of the final plans at this time, but will assure the commission of the upscale character of the development as represented. On the basis of the information and representations made by the applicant and the information set forth above and in discussions with the commission, in accordance with the provisions of 34 and of the Shelton zoning regulations, particularly paragraph 34.10, the Shelton Planning and Zoning Commission hereby approves the subject final detailed development plans, conditioned on the following stipulations, adjustments, and conditions. And now I've tried to group and outline what we're still looking to do and how it needs to be packaged. Especially the architectural drawings submitted as part of the final plan set. And they appear to reflect a clubhouse site, a clubhouse size, configuration, and design that's significantly inconsistent with the footprint and the configuration shown on the engineered site plan. That's got to be resolved. It must be addressed, and a more formalized set of architectural plans must be incorporated as a component of the final detailed development plans.
Mr. Panico,
Yes,
can you just explain when you're saying significantly inconsistent, is it the footprint has changed or the layout of where?
the plans, the architectural plans from day one on this job were never really a bundle of plans prepared by an architect with his name and address and the firm and all of that. They've been drawings of floor plans in plenty of detail and picture and drawings of elevations. And as the development evolved, things have happened which have caused those to change. If you remember when they first came in, they had the clubhouse up on the north end of the site. And for a variety of reasons and commission's concerns, they decided to move it to a central location between the two buildings on River Road. Well, in the course of doing that, the footprint of the recreational building changed. It became smaller and it became a different shape. So now it's not consistent at all with what was submitted as the architectural plans in support of the clubhouse. So that's got to be resolved. We all know that, but the architect's got to put it together, package it, and make it consistent with the engineering plans.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Said architectural plans should be expanded to incorporate the revised elevations of buildings, elevations of buildings 1 and 2 with their exposed rear foundation walls, including specifics of materials and finishes of said exposed foundations. Now, they submitted some small colored pictures of what the back walls, how the back wall is going to be treated. And the commission went through it, and it was discussed by the applicant. And what was discussed and represented by the applicant needs to be accurately reflected on the architectural plans that are part of the package. So it's got to be brought together. There was some concern about the treatment of that exterior wall because it's highly exposed. And the applicant assured us, and the pictures seem to reflect it, that there's some sort of a masonry treatment built into it that will soften it very nicely. It's got to be implemented. Said final plans should also acknowledge the person, firm, or entity responsible for the architectural designs and plans. So we're used to having a proper set of architectural plans. We have the information, but we don't have it assembled and documented the way we normally expect it to be. Number 2, although the site layout as revised and submitted satisfies the number of parking spaces required by the applicable standards and the statement of uses and standards, the parking tabulation shown on the site layout plan reflects a different basis for their calculation of the parking. It needs to be modified and be consistent with the requirement that's set forth in PDE 107, which says that in accordance with the city's parking requirements, this is how it comes out to be. The total number of parking spaces is fine, but it's got to be broken down to satisfy the statement of uses and standards. The applicant is reminded that the total number of parking spaces exceeds the state threshold of 200 spaces, and it may require a certificate from the Office of State Traffic Administration, OSTA. I don't know if they've started that process or not, but in any event, the applicant should clarify with OSTA that they are or are not going to be interested in reviewing and approving or commenting on the site plan. So they need to go through that process, and the commission should have something in its records reflecting that. The actual implementation and enforcement of that is really not going to be the commission's concerns. It's the concern of the building officials. But we shouldn't allow it to get to the point where they're looking for a building permit if they don't meet that standard, because it may imply some changes to be made on the site plans. 3, in most locations, and we discussed this at length in our previous discussions, in most locations where parking abuts walkways, the sidewalk width should be increased to 6 feet. I'm willing to cut back from 7 to 6, but this can be easily accommodated on buildings number 1 and 2. I checked that out without changing anything dramatically. At the rear of buildings 3 and 4, shifting the pavement 1 foot to the west will accommodate a 6-foot walk without encroaching on the building planting areas. That was a concern. The only constraint is along the front walls of buildings number 3 and 4, where insufficient space exists and the pavement is confined by the proposed retaining and the proposed retaining wall and guard railing along River Road. So there really isn't too much room to change much. In this location, then, it will be necessary to rely upon signage mandating head-in parking only, but it'll be limited to that area. You don't have to accept that constraint throughout the site. Most of it can be taken care of. Number 4, the final landscaping plan must be submitted for review and approval. And in fact, the applicant in his final discussions with commission and staff indicated that they'll be providing a final landscape plan. Well, the final landscape plan is part of the detailed development plans, so we need to have it now. And it should be expanded to include provisions that would allow the commission to require additional supplementary plantings if deemed necessary. As usual, landscaping plans always look attractive, but that's primarily because when it's illustrated on the drawing, it's illustrated as mature plantings. When they're first planted, they're not mature and they're not of that size. And what sometimes looks as adequate planting on a drawing, when the commission goes out and sees it, then, oh my God, you got a bush over here and the next bush is 25 feet away. That's really not enough, you know? But you can't always tell that by looking at the drawing. So we want that, we want them to pay a little more attention to that. In addition, as you know, the commission is going through this exercise of expanding and implementing on deeming no invasive species and using native species. So again, I put a standard paragraph in a standard sentence in there, and it'll be reflected in the negotiations with the commission staff that all plant materials must be non-invasive native species deemed acceptable to the commission. On the dumpster details, the dumpster enclosure detail on the site detail sheet needs to be modified to reflect the proposed masonry walls. That detail originated back when they didn't have masonry walls, they had fencing type around it. And when we picked up on it and we made an issue of it, they simply put a note on the site plan. They didn't bother to go back and change the detail. So what we're asking them is to modify that deal to reflect what they're really going to do. And that masonry material should be consistent with building wall materials. And it needs to be provided with a tenant access gate in addition to the main service gate. Number 3, additional information should be provided with respect to the proposed modular block retaining walls. Again, reflected specifically as to exposed face treatment and finish. They've indicated in general how they want to do it, but as you know, from your experience on other developments in the city, a modular wall is a modular wall, but it can be a lot of different types of finishes, and surface finishes are important to the commission. So we need to have some additional information. Also relative to guard railing, they've addressed it on their latest sketches and plans that they've provided copies of. But a note confirming that additional guard railing may be required by the commission and/or city engineer, depending upon final grading conditions. And as you know, what gets approved and what finally responsive conditions in the field is not necessarily the same thing. And we had some disagreement between they and us about the road, the driveway in from Quorum Road. On a drawing, it looks like it's going to be all right, but in actuality, we know that from the edge of that road, the slope drops off rather steeply. And now that you're going to put cars at the top of that thing, you got to protect those cars. So at the very least, that's one area that's got to be attended to. Number 7, final grading proposals may need to, this is what we were told and we agree to it. Final grading proposals may be adjusted to reflect existing and other exposed ledge rock areas as construction proceeds. If you recall, the applicant's engineer spoke at length about existing rock outcroppings and what they expect to find when they start taking the overburden material off, and how they're going to try to work with that to minimize some of the construction and blasting and rock removal. So these things may happen, but it also needs to be subject to the approval of the commission and the city engineer. If any exposed rock cut walls are deemed unacceptable by the commission, an alternative treatment will be necessary, including a possible retaining wall. That was not necessarily that. I'm not referring to the big slope between the top and the bottom, but on the upper area in the northwest corner, there's a rock cut, and it appears to be, and I'm not certain because I couldn't make it out on the detail sheet, that it appears that they're using the exposed rock cut, but I'm not positive. I want to confirm that, that's all, because I don't think that's going to have the same exposed rock feeling that the rest of it has. So it just needs to be looked at. We don't want to be approving carte blanche. Prior to implementation of any rock blasting activity, the applicant must provide a blasting program in compliance with all state and city blasting ordinances and addressing pre-blast survey criteria and evidence of adequate liability insurance for review and concurrence by the commission, as well as the fire marshal and other applicable municipal departments. Number 8, at the latest of all of our sessions, traffic calming in the form of speed tables has been proposed in a couple of locations, and a tentative detail is incorporated onto a detail sheet. That's all well and good. That's only really in 2 locations. In addition, because of the way that curvature of that road coming down to the lower level is, there should be a stop sign at the bottom of that road before you enter the lower level. It's an important intersection. So stop signs should be incorporated at least at that location, and perhaps at other critical locations on the internal drive system. As I said, such as where the connection to the lower level occurs. Such locations shall be noted on the site plan at the site layout. Also, the pedestrian access walks, which they're aware of needing and have verbally agreed to that, should be provided at that location in the sidewalk system, as well as where access to the recreation path occurs, and also where the points of access to the dumpster are. Those should be noted on the site layout plan so we know what to expect and there's no surprises. And then finally, this is an area where I don't necessarily have all the latest information, but unless already received, final approval by the Shelton WPCA must be obtained, as well as final comments by the city engineer's office. If the commission is satisfied with that, then you can go ahead and make your vote.
All right, first of all, can we have a motion to move the resolution for discussion?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, that's motion made by Commissioner Parkin, seconded by Commissioner Kelly, and on a roll call. Oh, and before I go into any vote, Commissioner Onofrio, you were not present at the September 13th and October 11th meetings when this application was presented. Have you acquainted yourself enough with the project that you would go on the record that you feel that you're qualified to vote?
Yeah, just to clarify, I was at the October 11th meeting, though. I would participate in that discussion.
I'm sorry. I'll go back and look at my notes.
But
Okay.
yes, I'm prepared. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So on the motion to move to the resolution for discussion, Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Parkins.
Aye.
Commissioner Motto,
Aye.
Commissioner Dickey,
Aye.
Commissioner Onofrio,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. All right. So first of all, are there any questions for Mr. Panico from any of the commissioners? No? Okay.
I just wanted clarification. Tony, when you started talking about the clubhouse, it was my recollection, not that it affects anything, but it was my recollection that they kind of indicated they hadn't really flushed out all the details on where that was gonna go. Is that,
No, as far as the location and the size of the clubhouse, that's been established.
okay,
They show it on the plan. It's the amenity package that's up in the air and will probably be up in the air until they finally get out to do it. And our only concern there is to make sure that it is in concert with the upscale intended character. And they were going to provide us some supplementary materials as to how it might look, but without being nailed down to this is exactly how it's got to be. That's why that supplementary information that I asked for, they're going to provide it to reassure us that they're staying with an upscale project, but without being nailed down as exactly how many benches, how many seats, and where they're going to be located. That needs to happen when you see what you have and you physically deal with it.
thank you.
Okay. As I was listening to the resolution from Mr. Panico, even though I had read it before, I went through and I was highlighting several things. To tell you the truth, the number of years I've been on the commission, I can't recall a resolution, and any other commissioner can correct me if I'm wrong, that, and especially, and Mr. Panico, since he does all of our resolutions, as to a proposal that had so many things that were still not locked in. And when I started seeing some of these things, it made me concerned because I don't think there's too much gray area here. And as
Well-
commissioners, I think that it is our responsibility to make sure that if we're going to vote on something, it's something that where all the i's have been dotted and the t's have been crossed. So,
Well, as chairwoman, you get to sign off on the final
yeah,
drawings.
exactly.
So if you're not happy, then you just don't sign off on them until they're, so that's the assurance.
The
that you-
difficulty that we've encountered now, as opposed to what's traditionally happened in the past, is number one, the commission is very, very busy. Staff is very, very busy. And sometimes something gets delayed, it gets put together, it gets submitted, and it takes a month before we can finally get it out to discuss with the commission. It runs out the process. The applicant is concerned about knowing that if he dots his i's and crosses his t's, he's got an approval. Okay?
Mhm.
Until we get to that point where you agree with this, he doesn't have that. I mean, if he goes ahead and makes all the changes and all the refinements and all the additional information, et cetera, and it gets put on the table for final action, and the commission suddenly decides, we don't like that, the way the buildings were changed up on top. And now we're back to maybe not square one, but square four. You got to redesign everything. He wants
I don't,
the basic concept to bed, and that's what this does. It puts the basic concept to bed. We're generally in agreement with everything that's been said verbally and on paper. Now let's tie up all the loose ends.
Mhm.
Let's
But
stop
why
the
end
i's
up-
and cross the t's.
and why are we calling this for an approval of final detailed development plans? It seems that we're not.
No, we're not calling that. It's a conditional approval of detailed development plans. Because until you sign off, he has no evidence of that approval per se.
Mhm.
So, and what we need to do is to get that package of material assembled together, satisfying all the concerns, and put it before you and say, okay, all the obligations have been satisfied. It's ready for endorsement.
Mhm. I understand what you're saying. It makes me very concerned that we are going to be going through and as Commissioner Parkin said, yes, as chairperson, I sign off on final detailed development plans. I just think that there's a lot here that they should continue refining and give us more information, as you've pointed out, is lacking. I just am very uncomfortable about this. And other commissioners can definitely voice their concerns about it. So, but that's where I am on this particular point of time.
Between Tony's eagle eyes and your eagle eyes, I trust that every condition
Yeah.
in that. So,
Yeah,
It could be, but it's just
Part of the reasoning,
the things that
part of-
happen.
part of my reasoning is I believe the commission has been strongly influenced by the quality and character of the proposed development. Okay? And if we aren't able to ensure that quality and character, then you're approving something that turns out to be not what you thought it was going to be. The applicant has every intent of doing that. I totally agree. In his previous experiences with the city, he worked a project that didn't have these concerns, and he turned it into a very nice quality project. And in this case, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, just what particular project were you working, thinking of, and it, Commissioner Parkins indicated it was the Mark.
Yes.
Yeah,
Well,
and I would agree. It has-
When the mark was approved, it was a basic multifamily development. And it had a proposed clubhouse and a pool and stuff, but it was nothing special. And it was approved with that. It turned out to be a project that's maybe not 100%, but I'm going to say 50 or 60% better than what we ever thought it was going to be.
Mhm.
But that's because that's what they wanted to do. They did more than what we were obliging them to do. However, in this case, we don't want this project unless it is like that. At least I think that's how I read the commission.
Commissioner Kelly had a comment?
Yeah, I do, and maybe this will ease everyone. Normally,
You might want to use the mic.
Oh, yeah, get in there a little closer and put the button up. Yep, go ahead. Go ahead.
no, it's nothing.
No, go ahead. Oh,
Sure.
yeah, get close, that's all.
Okay, normally when you have a set of drawings, it's not,
I know.
We,
Don't-
we can hear him. We can hear Commissioner Kelly.
Oh, good, thank you, Commissioner Dickey.
normally when you have a set of drawings, until the project is being built, it is kind of conditional. You know, there's certain things that probably will have to be changed, certain something's wrong with something or it won't fit, so on and so forth. But that's a normal construction way of doing things. Have a flat set of drawings. That's basically what you have. And until everything is brought together, that's really what you're approving.
Mhm.
That's, that's all I have to say.
Okay,
And I think you'll agree with me, Tony.
Yeah, I would just say similar, that if the staff is satisfied with the way this is written up and feel that they can follow through as this is developed, that these conditions are resolved, these suggestions are resolved and conditions are met, then I think we should be comfortable with moving
Yeah,
forward.
That's basically why you have addendums and detailed drawings later on as the project progresses.
Mhm. Okay, go
Commissioner,
ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, I hear what the chair said. My thoughts are still in line with my comments from July. I just think that it is, for me personally, it's too dense in an area where we've seen a lot of development. Many of the developments have not yet been built out with residential and commercial. So I appreciate that the applicant has made efforts to improve the development and has added to some of the workforce or affordable housing. But ultimately, for this area, I have traffic and density concerns. And I think in the over 9 acres, it would have been interesting to see keeping some retail, at least on the frontage of River Road. But I'm just not supportive of the amount of apartments in this proposal.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Dickey. Who else? Commissioner Alfredo, do you want to?
No, I'm just happy to for the discussion. When Mr. Panico was reading through it, I think I had, the same red flag came up. I was like, wow, it seems like there's a lot of things that are still left undone. But I think as Mr. Panico clarified, it's a course of the process, and the fact that you and both Mr. Panico and staff will continue to fine tune the details, and that reassurance. I'm good where we are with this project. I do like the concept of the project. I'm in a good place right now.
Okay. So
Just to clarify that it's not being further refined, it's just being completed as requested, right?
Mhm.
I mean, there's no further refinement, it's just following the conditions of
The details.
And assemble everything and eliminate some inconsistencies that are in the drawings right now.
My concern is that this is a project that is going to change that whole landscape for, say, the next 100 years. And I don't want to have something come back and haunt us later on and have it come out that, well, you pointed out this, you pointed out that, and these things weren't done. And no, I am not going to sign final site development plans if not every single thing on a project that we expect are not there. No, I think there are projects that we have approved in the past, and they not necessarily have all the details and the things that we wanted to have on there. So this is definitely going to have a lot of scrutiny if I am going to be continuing on the commission after the election. You know, because there's that point too. So,
Oh, that's.
yeah. But, all right, so we've had our discussion. Is there anyone that would like to make a motion on this particular application?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to give it a favor.
This motion to approve, you mean? Okay, so motion to approve from Commissioner Kelly. Is there a second?
I'll second, Commissioner Matto.
Shamato is seconding. So on the motion to approve the resolution made by Commissioner Kelly and seconded by Commissioner Amato, chair votes nay. Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly is voting aye.
Mhm.
Commissioner Parkins,
Aye.
Commissioner Amato,
Aye.
Commissioner Tiki,
Nay.
and Commissioner Nafrio.
Aye.
Okay, the vote is 4-2 on, I said it
Yes, you
first.
did
Oh, did
first.
you? Oh.
Yeah.
Vote.
Usually you don't.
Yeah, I know.
No, that's
This
true.
time, just so everybody
I missed that.
followed through where I was. So the motion to approve has passed by a vote of 4-2. Okay, so we are done with that.
Thank you, commissioners, for the vote tonight. Chairman, I will rest assured, I will do everything that's on that list. and
We
more.
really should not be taking any comments at this time.
That's my-
Okay, thank
Sorry.
you.
Thank you.
All right, we're moving on to application 2321 PDD number 91, Langakey's Landing, Dominic Thomas for Langakey's Landing LLC at 1055 Bridgeport Avenue, Assessors Map 2, Lot 8 on 1.7 acres for final site development plan approval for 62 apartments with 77 initial on-site parking spaces and 16 deferred and installed as needed. We had several meetings on this, and I believe it was the October 11th meeting that we discussed this application, and we came to a consensus to have staff prepare a resolution. So, Mr. Panico, do you want to read that resolution for us, please?
Yes, but just by way of background, before I get into this, I just want to make one thing clear. The action this time is as a result of trying to get this thing prepared in 2 weeks between our consensus and an action. And it was an impossible time period for the applicant to respond, react, and prepare all his new drawings. So if we want to take the action and get it off the agenda, and to protect the commission, I tried to stipulate all the things that needed to be done, most of which we've discussed in our first meeting. And that at that particular night, which was the first time that the application was put on an agenda, I had my preliminary notes, but not worked out to the point that we could sit down and go over A, B, C, D, and E. I indicated my general concerns, but I had no deep reservation about it, because it was only a matter of working out with the engineer, twist this around, change this around, fix this, move that. clarify this, etc. So if this action were not acted on for another 2 or 3 weeks, sure, we'd get that all done and it would be half the length. In fact, you might not even need a regular full-blown resolution. But if we want to get it off the agenda and now follow it through at the staff level, then this is what we have to do.
Okay.
So-
All right, so let's toss this up to the commission then. And before, as we did before, Commissioner Onofrio, you were here on the 11th, as you confirmed. So what's the commission's preference on this? Should we ask staff to meet with the applicant and clarify and tie up all the loose ends that Mr. Panico is concerned about? Or go through, read the resolution, take an action on it, and then leave it up to staff to make sure everything goes
Well,
through?
isn't this a very similar situation to what we just had?
Yes, it is.
It is.
But that- I
Same thing.
think what Mr. Panico was getting at was,
We're on the
we
timeline.
normally would have, if there were he had concerns, he did not have the opportunity with staff to sit down with the applicant and get them to show us their, the drawings. But as you say, yeah, it is very similar to what we just went through. So,
I think we might as well hear the resolution and then see if there's any big
Major.
issues.
Okay, that's probably a good idea.
all right, so go ahead, Mr. Panico.
All
if you
right,
wanna-
then.
through
So
everything.
we're dealing with application 2321, which is from Attorney Dominic Thomas on behalf of Land Yankees Landing LLC for approval of final site development plans for amended PDD number 99 for residential rental apartment development at 1055 Bridgeport Avenue in accordance with section 3410 of the zoning regulations. That's the implementation of final plans. At the Shelton Planning and Zoning Commission meeting of June 14th of 2023. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, 2023, that's right. The commission rendered a conditional approval of modified initial development plans for a 55-unit upscale residential. No, let's strike that word upscale. It wasn't represented upscale. That upscale should not be in there because we're not looking at it that way. A 55-unit residential rental apartment development on a 1.73 acre site at 1055 Bridgeport Avenue. Of the 55 rental units, not less than 7 will be reserved as set-aside affordable housing units. Although the site also has frontage on Huntington Street, the proposed development will have vehicular access limited solely from Bridgeport Avenue. The single building consists of 4 stories above a basement, and it houses the total 55 units, one building. The basement area accommodates a fitness center and a common area of tenant office space, plus utility areas and tenant storage. On-site parking for 110 vehicles is provided, of which 18 spaces will be deferred, depending a demonstrated need. On the basis of said approval, and to accommodate the subject development, an amendment to the Plan Development District number 99, which was already approved for a commercial development, included in the statement of uses and standards, was adopted effective June 30th of 23. So that's what was done so far. Based on the amendments, all previously allowed commercial uses have now been eliminated. The applicant has received conditional approval of the modified initial development plans in accordance with section 34 and 3410 of the zoning regulations, and hereby makes application for approval of final site development plans as required. Said final plans are entitled Amended Plan Development District 99, Land Yankees Landing, 1055 Bridgeport Avenue, Shelton, Connecticut. Said plans were prepared for Land Yankees Landing LLC by Noah Koski, Obimichel, Kane and Associates, civil engineers and land surveying, dated revised 9/25/23, with architectural plans by Rose Tizo and Company LLC architects. Said application was accepted for review on October the 11th, 2023. There
Mr.
were no
Panico, can I just stop you for a second? And if you could just clarify for the commission, on the agenda, this is identified as PDD number 91, which is a typo.
Yes, there are typos in that.
Yeah, but the other thing was, it was at some time in the past that the number of apartments was changed from 62 to 55.
That's
Is that
right.
correct? Okay, so that's why the resolution is being, was written, and the number of parking spaces, didn't that 77 number change?
That is correct.
Oh, and that's now what?
Well, right now they're required by the adoption that was made to have 110 spaces. And
Mhm.
we've allowed in that 18 spaces to be deferred.
Okay,
The
and,
reason we allowed a deferment was because this parking ratio is based solely on what our zoning regulation says. And our zoning regulation is rather generous with respect to visitor parking. So
Right. but those initial on-site parking spaces, instead of it being 77, is there a new number?
618.
it'll be 18. It's what's now is going to be shown is going to be 18 less than the 110. So what is that? 110, 92.
Okay, thank you. All right, why don't
Okay.
you go ahead?
All right. So where were we?
There,
There were no major site plan layout modifications of the approved modified development plans. It's essentially as we looked at. Other than it needs some minor parking layout alterations. The final site development plans reflect other modifications by the applicant to satisfy the conditional approval of the initial development plans granted back in June. But there are still several areas of concern that require clarification and or modification prior to commission endorsement of final approved plans. The applicant will need to address all outstanding concerns of staff and commission prior to that endorsement, and will be submitting further revised maps and details reflecting the final design, including the final architectural drawings, after exploring the potential for further expansion of things like the proposed area of thin stone masonry veneer. We asked them to consider expanding that coverage. Architectural plans will reflect consistency with the engineered site plans, as well as final design modifications. And the commission may want to see samples of exterior materials, selections and specifications. So on the basis of the information and representations of the applicant and the information that's set forth above and in discussions with commission and staff, in accordance with the provisions of section 34, in particular paragraph 3410, the Shelton Planning and Zoning Commission hereby approves the subject final detailed development plans conditioned upon the following stipulations, adjustments, and conditions. One, again, where the parking abuts the sidewalk width must be increased to a minimum of 6 feet. However, in this case, since the majority of the parking stalls have been laid out with a depth of 20 feet along the front and rear walkways, they can easily be accommodated simply by taking that 1 foot that we need off of the depth of the space, and they'll still be in conformity with zoning requirements. It'll have no impact whatsoever on the travelway width. At the pavement building ends, however, the layout adjustments will be needed, or such spaces may be signed for head-in parking only. So other than those 8 or 10 spaces, they'll all be standard spaces, but with a proper provision of a 6-foot minimum sidewalk. The deferred spaces that face Huntington Street are right now, they're drawn at a marginal depth, and at least 2 of them need to be relocated in order to allow some additional landscape area along Huntington Street. The plan should show the tentative locations for the required EV charging stations, so they should be indicated. If you looked at the site plan, you'd notice that the southwest corner of the pavement has a 90-degree turn to it, and a couple of parking spaces were blocked out, and that space was turned into the dumpster location. I'm asking them to consider rounding that southwest corner to better accommodate that dumpster enclosure, or consider relocating the dumpster enclosure to a more convenient location, possibly adjacent to the northerly property line, as long as they don't put it over by the single-family residence. That northerly property line, up until recently, was abutted by a very lengthy greenhouse structure. And the other side of that greenhouse structure is the circulation driveway on the adjacent use. Now you take all that away, and I don't know how good that space is going to be. So that's one possible area that can be considered. Any spaces that would block access to the dumpster area could be labeled as some of the deferred spaces, and we can adjust accordingly. Regardless of its location, details and specifics of that enclosure should be shown on the detail sheet, and it should be provided with masonry walls, once again, consistent with the building's masonry exterior. The enclosure should be provided with a gated tenant access way and a related sidewalk access. The landscape plan needs some improvement with additional information regarding size of plant materials and minimum caliber of trees. Additional site plantings in general will be needed, and all planting materials must be non-invasive native materials acceptable to the commission. Once again, notes should be added ensuring a minimum survival period and granting the commission the ability to require additional supplementary plantings if deemed necessary. Building foundation plantings on the landscape plan are very, very schematic. Whereas if you look at the rendering, that shows some lovely landscaping at the foundation. Well, we got to blend those two ideas. They look very nice on the rendering that was provided. Let's implement it somewhat on the landscaping plan. Where deemed necessary, a special attention is needed along the north and south property lines, as well as the outdoor patio area to improve and/or supplement existing plantings. Where deemed necessary, privacy fencing should be considered. The dog run should be more specific and clearly identified relative to its location, fencing, and landscaping. The ground treatment of the non-planted areas should be specified. I'm sure their intent is going and sod it. Well, I don't know, maybe they're going to just put a different kind of ground cover. Right now, it's just a blank spot on the map. So tell us what you're going to do there. The details sheet should include a detail for cement concrete curbing, not bituminous concrete lip curbing. It can be extruded concrete where feasible. Also, details of any and all proposed fencing were indicated on the site plan. At the very minimum, the dog run, etc., and/or as deemed necessary by the commission, including type, size, and materials, should also be included. I know there was an issue made at the public hearing by the adjacent residential neighbor about her particular boundary. We need to be sure that the existing protection there is adequate, or we need to supplement it as we said we would at the public hearing. All offsite areas along Huntington Street and Bridgeport Avenue should be annotated as to how you expect to finish those areas, the removal of the unused pavement, the old driveways, etc. Out front on Bridgeport Avenue, the ends of the proposed sidewalk should be shown, as well as sidewalk material. And right now it just says proposed sidewalk. I don't know how far it goes. I don't know what it's going to be made out of. Also, the proposed area around the bus canopy. They should also remove the old used signs, mailboxes, and things that are not needed anymore for the new development. And there should be a commitment of some sort to the maintenance of a landscaped island and median strip, which are out in the public right of way. The status of the bus canopy should be clarified. It's shown on the drawing. Are they putting it in? Are they moving it from someplace else? Does one exist in that location? If it's not a reuse of an existing one, who's going to be responsible for its relocation, conditioning, and/or replacement? We just got to clarify it, be more specific. There's no site lighting indicated, which leads me to suspect that they're going to rely on off-building lighting. Well, reliance on off-building lighting must not have negative off-site impacts. The dumpster enclosure area, wherever it may be, and the site driveway entry must be adequately illuminated, as well as, if they're going to have one, any proposed identification ground signage. And then finally, unless it's already been received, we need to be sure that they have final approval of Shelton WPCA, fire marshal, and the local traffic office as well as final comments of the city engineer's office. I looked at the material that's posted and I could not see anything satisfying those concerns. That's why I put that in there.
Could you go back to number 6 on the site lighting, where you're
Yeah.
talking about building lighting? So there's no indication if they have not necessarily spotlights coming off of the building, but some other kind of pole lights? Uh-huh.
All the lighting, I mean, all the parking is rather in close proximity to the building. So
Right.
maybe that's acceptable, but let's get some information as to what they intend to do in order to be sure that we do have a reasonably well lighted site.
All right, so is there any questions from any of the commissioners for Mr. Panico on any of the points that he
Should we-
brought up?
Should we make a motion to
Discuss.
accept for discussion?
Yeah, is there someone that would like to make a motion to move the resolution for discussion?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, so Commissioner Parkins has made that motion to move for discussion, and Commissioner Kelly has seconded it, and I will do a roll call. Commissioner Motto,
Aye.
Commissioner Tiki,
Aye.
Commissioner Onofrio.
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly. Commissioner Parkins,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. So is there anyone that has any questions for Mr. Panico? First of all,
Well, this is Commissioner Ticky. I agree with the comments about the bus depot. I mean, we want to make sure that continues there. I'm not sure the involvement that a state has, if it's a state road and it's connected to the bus system, but more information about where exactly that will go and what that would look like would be helpful.
okay,
Well, I understand time-wise that this is very similar to the last project. I'm a little concerned because I don't think we've had such in-depth conversations with this applicant as we have. And he's also, I believe, at least unknown to me, I don't recall any other projects that he's done here in Shelton. The fact that
this is residential.
houses rather than
Yeah.
apartments. The fact that he didn't know that charging stations were required for apartments. So there's just a little bit more that I'm questioning. Do we really have enough information that this project's going to get built the way we would expect it to be built?
Mhm.
Kind of like the unknown, right?
Okay, anybody else have any comments, questions, or concerns?
Well, what are we looking for? Are we looking for final site development plans or are we looking for construction plans?
Oh, no, these are the finals.
Yeah, it's the
Yeah,
same-
but they're
same
not
situation.
construction plans.
They're not conceptual anymore, no.
No, he's saying
Construction.
construction
They're
plans.
not made for construction at this
Oh,
point.
construction, I'm sorry.
Mhm.
It almost appears that we're looking for final construction plans. We're talking about a lot of things that are within a planned construction with
Mhm.
the final drawings and also with,
Well,
Details,
they may not have to be actual construction drawings per se, but we want to make sure that the geometry works, that if you have a parking area shown, we want to know that it fits, and that when you do fit it in, you have proper widths of landscaping areas and sidewalks and things of that sort.
yeah, but basically.
So are we gonna,
So they're somewhere in between the conceptual plan and construction drawings.
or are we leaving a lot of decisions up to staff at this point? Like whatever kind of fencing they propose, it's staff's decision what that is? There's a lot of things I think that just haven't been, that the commission's not gonna have input on once,
Well, shouldn't they be on the final site drawings?
these are the
Mhm.
final site
Well, they're
drawings.
not on.
this is exactly what my point was on the previous application. So, Mr. Panico, have we in the past taken certain aspects of a project like this and the points that you've brought up and have deemed it sufficient for staff to work on these things, or are they serious enough that no, they should be on plans that the commission would approve?
I think the reason that this got to the detail that it is because the application was only received 2 weeks ago.
Mhm.
And what we had anticipated after our last discussion was that I would be in contact with the applicant's engineer, and we would get these various little nitty-gritty issues worked out. And then we'd have an updated site plan, and that's the one we would be acting on.
Right.
So that didn't happen.
But if you want to act on it tonight, then we have to make sure we have conditions on that.
Yeah, but one of the things I want to clarify, this 2 weeks ago was not the first time we ever saw this
No.
particular project on this particular piece of property.
No, but what you saw was a 62 unit of project and
Right.
a project that was different from what you have today.
Right, but it did a footprint change. I know that there was a slight shift in the building. But it's not like they turned it 90 degrees or
No,
something.
the basic concept of the plan, the building is generally the same size and it's generally where it was always planned to be. And the peripheral part, the peripheral driveway around the building is what it always was. So the concept has not been changed. Now it's just a matter of implementing that concept with greater detail and make sure everything fits.
Mhm. Okay, is that something, again, that as the chair, I have the responsibility of making sure when I sign off on plans that all these points are addressed?
Yes, and if there's any concern, you could require that the final amended plans be put before the commission.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's what staff would do if we had any concerns.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So
There were another.
you could take that, you could take that position that in view of that, you wanted to come back before sign off.
Okay.
But if you take the action, then at least you would have said, yes, we are approving it as long as you satisfy all these criteria.
And bring it back.
Right.
for Final. I like
Okay.
that option.
No,
Yeah, I do too.
that's not one that we really have ever taken up on as far as I can
And the
remember.
last one that we just went through, and I'm just trying to compare because you don't want to,
Be inconsistent.
right.
I guess we've been spoiled in the past on relatively simple proposals, even under a PDD process. We've seen the building, it's been laid out properly, everything's all laid out and everything. When you finally took your action, everything fits. In this
Mhm.
case, we've
Not sure.
massaged things and we've asked them to change this, change that, change the other thing,
Okay. All right, so how does the commission want to proceed on this? We still have the motion for discussion. Are we ready to
So
take that
unlike the last
approach?
one, I felt that staff could handle all of the conditions without coming back to the commission for discussion.
I
This one, I'm a little not so,
I think part of the reason that we thought maybe we needed to clear it off the table is because it's a project that started several months, years ago. And we're now at a position where it's conceivable you might have a change in the composition of the commission. Is that going to potentially lead to a rejection of what the commission has done so far? That's not really fair to the applicant either.
I
Right.
feel like we've talked about this project forever. I don't know. It seems like we've gone over it and over it and over it. And it has been modified and based on our suggestions as well.
Yeah.
Come along to what we wanted to see happen better there. So I think we should move on it.
By the way, where in the resolution do we talk about the affordable housing? Because
I only threw it in there as a comment, in
it
case
is,
the
beginning.
commission was concerned about it. I mentioned
Yeah,
at the
that was
beginning,
7.
it is required, yes.
Okay. All right, so Commissioner Romano just spoke up that she felt that we should move on with this. How do the other commissioners feel? If someone wants to make a motion to approve, based and with the contingent on the chair
Having the,
having to, looking it over and,
having the right
To
to bring
bring
it
it
back to
back.
the commission. I'm not opposed to the project. I'm
mhm,
just concerned that there's being too much put on staff to
mhm,
make sure that the commission's wishes are carried out.
mhm,
That's my only concern.
okay,
But if we could do that where we approve it and yet you still have a final say
mhm,
prior to signing off to have it come back before the commission for,
mhm,
I mean, that's a risk that the developer's gonna have to take. He's gonna have to make sure that he clearly understood all the
All the
conditions that
points,
we were
all the
looking for
points that
mhm,
and do his
brought
due
up, yeah.
diligence to make sure that they've happened.
right, and that would give Mr. Panico another chance to look it over,
Right.
so,
I like that option.
okay. Do you want to make a motion to that effect, Commissioner Parkins?
Sure, I will make that motion.
Okay, so there's a motion by Commissioner Parkins to approve
approve the
contingent, can approve the resolution contingent to the chair having the right to bring back the
A
Final.
final review,
final review to the commission.
but we're basically approving the
Is-
project.
is the chair having the right?
Yeah, before getting the final detailed development plans and reviewing them, if I felt that there was some reason that there is something on the plan that merits review by the entire commission, I have the right to do so.
Yeah, you don't have to
What
say.
what I heard is that you have that right. We don't necessarily have to stipulate it because goes with your position.
Have it right anyway.
Okay. All right, so staff, Mr. Rossetti confirmed that that is the case, so then we're just going to a motion to review and to keep in mind that I do have the right to request that it come back before the commission.
Okay, so I'll
Okay,
make a motion to approve the resolution.
okay,
Okay.
okay, so Commissioner Parkins has made that motion. Is there a second?
I'll second Commissioner Matto.
Okay, Commissioner Motto has seconded. So on the motion, on a roll call vote, Commissioner Nafrio,
Aye.
Commissioner Ticky,
I'm
Commissioner Kelly,
Aye.
Commissioner Parkins,
Aye.
Commissioner Motto,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. Motion has passed by a vote of 6-0. Okay.
Just to avoid confusion, I think I should put some words in here. Further this discussion, and then the commission approval with conditions that was moved by, seconded by
Commissioner
subject to what? Subject to.
Well, yeah,
Hello?
we did discuss, Mr. Panago, that the chair, contingent that the chair would reserve the right to bring it back to the entire commission if necessary, but Mr. Rossetti and other commissioners felt that we just need to go with a motion to approve because that's an inherent right that I have anyways. So is that sufficient for your purposes?
Well, okay, I didn't know whether I needed to incorporate anything into this action.
No, I don't think so.
No, okay.
All right, we'll move along. And the last item on the agenda is approval of October 11th minutes. Does anybody have any changes or corrections? Go ahead, Mr.
Did we
Panago.
go through the vote? I'm sorry.
Yeah, we did.
Okay,
Yep, it was a 6-0 vote to approve. So the October 11th minutes. Anybody have any changes or corrections?
It's okay to me.
Yeah, look up here to me as well.
Mhm.
I didn't see it.
All right, hearing no comments or changes, is there a motion to approve as submitted?
I'll make a motion to approve this.
Okay, there's Commissioner Kelly has motion to approve as submitted, and is there a second?
I'll second Commissioner
And-
Parkins.
Commissioner Parkins is second. So on the motion to approve the October 11th minutes as submitted, made by Commissioner Kelly, seconded by Commissioner Parkins. Commissioner Ticky,
I'm
Commissioner Motto,
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly,
Aye.
Commissioner Parkins,
Aye.
Commissioner Anafrio,
Aye.
And chair votes aye. Motion is passed by a vote of 6-0. And seeing that there is no other item on the agenda, the chair declares this evening's meeting is adjourned as of 7:34 PM. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night. We'll see you November 8th for our next meeting.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Right.
Ugh.
Tough night
Okay.
then?
I have a question.
I go home and I find that